Hello class, my name is Giancarlo Perez, and I'm going to be going over gang reduction policy within the United States. My name is Giancarlo Perez, like I said, I'm a criminal justice major in FIU, and here we go. Okay, so a description of the policy. HR 4743, also known as the Community-Based Gang Intervention Act, is a piece of legislation that was introduced in the 117th Congress in 2021. The purpose of this bill is to provide funding and support for community-based gang intervention programs which aim to reduce gang violence and involvement in criminal activity. Gang violence is a major problem in many communities across the United States. According to the National Gang Center, there are approximately 33,000 active street gangs in the country, with over 1 million members. These gangs are involved in a variety of criminal activities, including drug trafficking, theft, violent crimes. As a result, gang violence can also have a significant impact on the safety and well-being of communities. Okay, so here we go on the expansion of the description of the policy. So the Community-Based Gang Intervention Act seeks to address this problem by providing funding and support for programs that aim to intervene in the lives of individuals who are at risk of joining a gang or who are already involved in gang activity. These programs can often involve working with community leaders, educators, law enforcement, and social services to provide young people with alternative opportunities and support to help them stay away from gangs. The scope of the problem that the Community-Based Gang Intervention Act is trying to address is the growing issue of gang violence and its impact on communities. The Act seeks to provide resources and support to help address this problem by supporting community-based intervention programs that aim to prevent young people from becoming involved in gang activity and to provide support to those who are already involved. Okay, so here are a few limitations of this policy. One limitation of the act was that it provided funds to local organizations but did not provide any guidance on how those organizations should even use the money. Without guidance, local organizations may have had difficulty identifying the best strategies for reducing gang violence in their community. In addition, the act did not provide any metrics or evaluation system to ensure that the money was being used effectively. This meant that the local agencies and organizations were unable to track their progress or use any data to make informed decisions about how to allocate their resources. The Act also did not offer any long-term solutions or strategies. The grants provided were only intended to cover short-term projects, and the Act did not require any long-term commitments or investments from local agencies and organizations. This limitation made it difficult to truly reduce gang-related activities in the long term. Finally, the Act only provided funds to a select group of organizations and did not include any additional resources or funding from underprivileged communities. This lack of resources for disadvantaged neighborhoods left many without access to the help they needed to address gang violence in their area. These are just a few of the limitations of the Community-Based Gang Intervention Act of 2002. While the act intended to reduce gang-related activities and crime, its shortcomings left many communities with inadequate resources and guidance on how to best utilize the, the money provided. Okay, so history of this policy. The bill was introduced by Congressman Tony Cardenas of California on March 1st, 2021. The primary goal of HR 4743 is to address the issue of gang violence in communities across the United States. The bill proposes to establish a federal program that would provide funding to community-based organizations and local law enforcement agencies to implement evidence-based strategies for gang intervention and prevention. The legislation seeks to provide support for job training, educational opportunities, mental health services, and other programs aimed at reducing gang involvement and improving public safety. With a focus on helping at-risk youth, the bill offered up to $25 million over 5 years to fund activities like job training, mentoring, counseling, and recreational activities. The money would also be used to support after-school programs, summer camps, and educational and literary services. So, to expand on the history of the policy, the Community-Based Gang Intervention Act was an important piece of legislation that sought to reduce gang-related violence, crime, and drug use in communities across the country. Unfortunately, the bill was not passed by Congress. Despite this, many of the ideas obtained in the act have been picked up and incorporated into other pieces of legislation. The goal of the Community-Based Gang Intervention Act was to provide communities with the resources they needed to be effective in curbing gang-related violence and crime. This bill was an important step in helping to reduce crime as well as providing resources to help at-risk youth. The bill also called for increased collaboration with state, local, and federal law enforcement agencies to ensure that gang-related issues were addressed quickly and effectively. So the policy was unsuccessful. So although the Community-Based Gang Intervention Act was not passed by Congress, it set an important precedent and spurred discussions about how best to help at-risk youth and reduce gang-related violence. It was a significant step forward in the fight against gang violence and crime, and many of its ideas have been incorporated into other pieces of legislation. H.R. 4743 was created in response to the growing concern about the impact of gang violence on communities, particularly in urban areas. Gang violence has long been a problem in many cities across the United States, with young people, particularly those from disadvantaged backgrounds, being particularly vulnerable to gang recruitment. The bill recognizes that traditional law enforcement strategies alone are not enough to address this problem and that a comprehensive community-based approach is needed to address the root cause of gang involvement and reduce gang violence. Okay, so here are some of the elements of the policies. The policy outlines a comprehensive approach to addressing gang-related issues, incorporating various elements to achieve its goals. The first one we're going to talk about is grant programs. This policy authorizes the creation of grant programs to support local and community-based organizations working on a gang intervention or prevention efforts. The grant can be used to provide a range of services, including mentorship, job training, educational support, and grant programs can fund community-based organizations that provide mentorship, counseling, education, and job training to at-risk youth to help them steer clear of gang involvement. These programs can further provide funding for law enforcement agencies to improve their gang-related intelligence gathering and enforcement efforts and for the prosecution of gang crimes. Furthermore, the program can also fund after-school programs that provide positive activities such as sports, arts, and academics for youth to keep them engaged and out of gangs. Okay, so the next element we're going to discuss is outreach and education. H.R. 4743 requires the development of outreach and education programs to raise public awareness of the dangers of gang involvement and promote alternative positive activities for young people. The programs are intended to reach at-risk youth and their families and provide them with the necessary resources and support to make positive life choices. These initiatives can inform and educate community members, including parents, teachers, and youth, about the dangers of gang involvement and provide resources for help and support. Furthermore, they can also provide parents and families with information and resources on how to prevent their children from joining gangs and how to support youth who have already joined gangs to leave. Okay, so the next element would be law enforcement collaboration. The policy emphasizes the importance of collaboration between law enforcement and community organizations in addressing gang-related crime. It requires the establishment of partnerships between local law enforcement agencies and community-based organizations to share information and resources and to develop effective strategies for addressing gang activity. Collaboration among local, state, and federal law enforcement agencies can result in more effective and coordinated investigations of gang activity and greater resources to combat gangs. Nevertheless, law enforcement collaboration can involve sharing of intelligence, including gang member identities, locations, and criminal activities, to help agencies track and dismantle gang operations. Next, a collaboration between between law enforcement agencies and community members can improve communication, trust, and relationships, allowing law enforcement to better understand and address gang-related issues in communities. Okay, the next element of this policy is evidence-based interventions. H.R. 4743 requires the use of evidence-based interventions in gang intervention and prevention efforts. This includes the use of research-backed programs and approaches that have been shown to be effective in reducing gang-related crime and violence. Through the use of cognitive behavioral therapy, individuals can change negative thoughts, behaviors, and attitudes that contribute to gang involvement and promote positive life skills and decision-making. The use of multi-system therapy can address the multiple systems that impact the youth's life, including family, school, and community, and provides individualized treatment and support to reduce gang involvement. Lastly, family-based interventions can help to improve communication and relationships between parents and youth, reducing risk factors for gang involvement and promoting positive youth development. These are a few examples of evidence-based interventions that have been shown to be effective in reducing gang involvement and promoting positive change. By addressing causes and providing targeted support and resources, evidence-based interventions can play a critical role in reducing gang problems in the United States. Okay, so the last element we're going to discuss is youth development. The policy recognizes the importance of promoting positive youth development as a way of preventing gang involvement. It authorizes the creation of programs and initiatives that provide young people with opportunities for personal and professional growth, such as mentorship, job training, and educational support. The use of after-school programs can provide positive activities such as sports, arts, and academics for youth to stay engaged and out of gangs. Furthermore, mentorship programs can provide youth with positive role models and support to help them make good decisions and avoid gang involvement. Nevertheless, using job training and placement programs is also significant since the programs can provide youth with the skills and resources they need to find employment, reducing risk factors for gang involvement, and for promoting positive youth development. By promoting positive youth development and providing alternatives to gang involvement, youth development programs can help reduce gang incidents in the United States and create safer, more supportive communities for young people. Summary. The study of an empirical evaluation of the Project Build Gang Intervention Program found that the participation in the program had a significant impact on reducing gang involvement and improving various outcomes for high-risk youth. Specifically, the findings showed that gang involvement, the study found that the participation in the Project Build program was associated with a reduction in gang involvement among the study participants. High-risk behaviors. The study found that participation in the Project Build program was associated with a decrease in involvement in other high-risk behaviors, such as substance abuse and delinquency. Overall well-being. The study found that the participation in the Project Build program was associated with improvements in overall well-being, including increased school attendance, improved academic performance, and increased involvement in pro-social activities. In conclusion, these findings suggest that the Project Build program was effective in reducing gang involvement and improving various outcomes for high-risk youth. The study provides evidence for the importance of gang intervention programs in reducing gang involvement and promoting positive development for at-risk youth. Thank you, and I hope you enjoyed this presentation.